In the Victorian era, tea was far more than a warm drink. It was a symbol of empire, a spark for war, and in its own way, the fuel that powered the Industrial Revolution. This is the story of Victorian tea culture and the global empire that built it, coming up on the Literally Victorian podcast.
Welcome to the Literally Victorian podcast with your host, Matthew Lee Hansen.
Hello and welcome to the channel. It's good to have you with me once again. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. By the time Queen Victoria took the throne in 1837, tea had woven itself into the very fabric of British life. Morning tea, afternoon tea, high tea, a cup for comfort, a cup for company, a cup for clarity. In the crowded factory towns of northern England, the working poor drank strong, dark tea with milk and sugar, a cheap surge of energy before another punishing shift. In drawing rooms across London, the middle and upper classes refined tea drinking into an art. Delicate porcelain, silver teaspoons, lace tablecloths, and conversations spoken softly over steaming cups. Tea was everywhere, and it was becoming everything. In the early Victorian period, one nation held the crown jewel of global tea production: China. For centuries, the Chinese had perfected the cultivation, preparation, and export of tea, green, black, white, and oolong. Britain craved it. Britain needed it. But China was not interested in British manufactured goods. They demanded payment in silver. The British treasury began to bleed. But there was one thing China did want, or rather, one thing that millions of Chinese people had become dangerously dependent on: opium. The East India Company, the corporate arm of the British Empire, began exporting Indian-grown opium to China in exchange for tea. When Chinese officials attempted to stop the trade, Britain responded with force. And so the First Opium War began in 1839, a conflict fought at its core to secure Britain's access to tea. The next time you sip a warm, reassuring cup, remember, Victorian tea culture was born not from gentility, but from gunboats and smoke. China may have had the monopoly, but the British Empire wanted control. Total control. And so in 1848, the East India Company sent a Scottish botanist named Robert Fortune into China as a spy. Disguised as a Chinese merchant, Fortune stole tea plants, seeds, and, arguably more valuable, the secrets of tea processing. He smuggled them out of the country and transported them to British-controlled territories in India, particularly Assam and Darjeeling. The empire had begun its transformation. By the late Victorian period, British India, not China, had become the world tea powerhouse. Plantations expanded across hillsides, worked by local labourers under harsh and exploitative conditions. Entire landscapes and cultures were reshaped to meet Britain's appetite. Tea, once a foreign delicacy, was now an imperial commodity. As empire shaped tea, tea shaped Victorian identity. Among the upper classes, tea became a symbol of manners, order, and domestic virtue. Afternoon tea, introduced by Anna Russell, the Duchess of Bedford, became a daily ritual of sandwiches, sponge cakes, delicate pastries, and of course, a perfectly brewed pot of tea. Everything had rules. Tea poured first, milk second, or vice versa, depending on class and porcelain quality. The correct angle to hold a cup. The proper way to stir, quietly without clinking. And never, under any circumstances, should one slurp. Tea was morality in a cup, a tool for shaping daughters, judging neighbours, and presenting a household as respectable. But for all its gentility, tea also revealed the deep inequalities of Victorian society. For the poor, tea held an entirely different meaning. In cramped, soot-filled kitchens, strong black tea was a lifeline, a cheap stimulant that helped labourers endure long hours in factories, mines and mills. Often served with condensed milk or sweetened heavily with sugar, it provided quick energy. Water was unsafe. Milk spoiled quickly. Beer cost money. Tea was safe, hot, and kept you going. Children drank tea. Grandparents drank tea. Pregnant mothers drank tea, sometimes to stave off hunger pains. If the upper classes used tea to maintain etiquette, the working classes used it to survive. Tea was also deeply gendered. Women were seen as the keepers of the tea table, responsible for hospitality, morality, and social cohesion. Serving tea properly was considered a sign of refinement, a woman's domestic credibility poured into a cup. Tea gatherings were among the few socially acceptable spaces where women could exchange information, form alliances, discuss politics indirectly, build networks of influence. Tea was a social tool and a quiet form of power. In contrast, men conducted business in coffee houses and clubs. Tea was seen as domestic, gentle, even moral. But this image hid a reality. While Victorian women served tea in London, countless women in India and Sri Lanka were labouring under brutal conditions to produce it. Tea spread because the Victorians mastered the science of logistics. Steamships, railways, and the telegraph turned tea from a luxury into a mass-market staple. Clipper ships, like the famous Cutty Sark, raced across oceans to deliver fresh tea to Britain in record time. By the 1880s, tea had become cheap, readily available, packaged, advertised, and increasingly blended for consistency. Brands like Twinings, Lipton, and Typhoo emerged. Tea shops opened across cities. And the British working classes became some of the heaviest tea drinkers in the world. Tea wasn't just a drink. It was a global system, powered by technology, capital, and human labour. Behind every Victorian tea table, behind every delicate cup, lay exploitation. In Assam and Ceylon, workers on tea plantations lived lives far removed from the calm rituals of Britain. Many endured long hours, low pay, harsh discipline, high mortality rates, separation from families, malnutrition, punishment for trying to leave the plantations. The British narrative of tea as gentle and civilizing was built upon suffering. This was not a story Victorians liked to tell. They preferred the softer narratives, civility, ceremony, and culture. But the Empire's tea industry was not gentle. It was extractive, violent, and relentless. By the time Queen Victoria died in 1901, tea had become a national symbol, a global commodity, an economic necessity, a cultural ritual, and a powerful tool of empire. Britain drank tea at every hour of the day. Tea soothed grief, celebrated joy, and punctuated the rhythm of life. In a sense, tea became the empire's greatest export, not as leaves, but as culture. Long after the British Empire began to crumble, the habit of tea drinking remained, because rituals survive even when empires do not. Today, when we pour a cup of tea, we're drawing on a legacy shaped by war, trade, espionage, slavery, gender roles, industry, and the quiet force of domestic ritual. Victorian Britain turned tea into something more than a drink. They turned it into an identity, a national symbol of comfort, civility, and home. Yet inside every steaming cup lies the shadows of the past, the empire, the exploitation, the global machine that made tea possible. The Victorians believed tea revealed character, but what it truly revealed was an empire brewing just beneath the surface. Thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you continue to enjoy the content. I'm off to have a lovely cup of tea. So until next time, bye for now.